What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It is time to give you my college football picks and predictions heading into week number 2 of the 2024 college football season. Before I start these predictions here for week number 2, looking back to my predictions and picks from last week in the first weekend of the college football season, my record was 5-5. So I really didn't do too bad in week number 1. There were some games where I really messed up pretty badly, but there were some games on there where I feel like, I really felt confident with. So again, week number 1 was a pretty quiet week. First week, we didn't see a lot of chaos, not a lot of upsets, but heading into this weekend, we got a pretty big weekend. So again, I'm picking out 10 of the biggest games, in my opinion, coming up this weekend that should be really good games, and giving you final score predictions for all these 10 games that I'm about to predict for you. So again, let's go ahead and get right into it here with my week number 2 predictions, my game picks and predictions here heading into week number 2 of the 2024 college football season. And we will start here with Georgia Tech versus Syracuse. This game will be at noon Eastern time on the ACC network. Georgia Tech favored by 3 points, also known by a field goal. The over and under is at 62.5. Georgia Tech, obviously the favorite because I feel like they're the ranked team and they just played some really solid football in the last couple weeks. Now, Georgia Tech's been a surprise so far, in my opinion, with the tough schedule that they played so far. I mean, obviously, Florida State was their toughest game so far as well, but they actually won that game, and they definitely have proved a lot of people wrong so far in the first couple of weeks. Again, they have a little bit of an advantage coming into this game because they played 2 games already, but you never count out Syracuse when it comes to like these, top 25 matchups. Syracuse, looked really good last week. Kyle McCord was really unstoppable. I think he's going to be a pretty good quarterback for this Syracuse team, and this Syracuse team does have some playmakers on their roster, so I think they make this game pretty interesting. And also, this is the first kind of road game here for Georgia Tech. That Dublin-Ireland game wasn't a road game. It was a neutral site game. Of course, it was a travel and everything, but this will be their first kind of road test of the season, and it's a really tough place to play at Syracuse. Even though Georgia Tech is favored in this one, I'm actually going to go with the upset here. I think Syracuse pulls it off. They win this one 27-24. It is a close game. I think I'm going to go with Syracuse here 27-24, and I got the Orange pulling off the upset. Again, this game will be at noon Eastern time on the ACC network. And again, Georgia Tech's favored by 3 points, and the over and under is at 62.5. But I actually wouldn't be really surprised if Georgia Tech proved me wrong in this game and they win this one and improve to 3-0 on the season. Next up, we got the big game, Texas versus Michigan. This game will be at noon Eastern time on Fox, so it's the big noon kickoff on Fox. Texas favored by 7.5 in this one, and the over and under is at 42.5. Again, this is the biggest game coming up this weekend. College game day, of course, going to be really down there for this one. These are pretty good teams. These are 2 teams that made the playoff, of course, from last year. Looking back to their games from last week, Texas obviously with a very dominating win against Colorado State, 52-0. Quinn Ewers in that offense for Texas looked very explosive, and then for Michigan, obviously got off to a really slow start against Fresno State, but they were able to pull away in the second half of that game. So I think this is a pretty even matchup. I feel like, Texas has a little bit of a talent advantage. I think they're also the more well-coached team. Michigan, obviously, still kind of getting used to the new coaching staff and with a new quarterback as well. I think the game plan for Michigan is, going to definitely try to run the football here and try to really wear down that Texas defensive line, and then also try to, get some throws down the field. But I feel like Texas is the better team. I've been picking Texas here ever since the preseason to win this one. I'm still going to go with that preseason prediction, so I'm going to go with Texas here to win this one in a low-scoring type ball game. Again, I think both of these defenses are pretty even. Offensively, I would probably give the advantage to Texas just based off of what happened from last week. So I got Texas winning this one 20-13. They don't really hardly cover that 7.5 point spread, but they still win by a touchdown. I think a turnover probably changes the difference as well. You never know what can happen in these low-scoring type games. But I'm going to go with Texas here 20-13. Next up, we got Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. It'll be at noon Eastern time on ABC. The Cowboys favored by 7.5, and the over and under is at 62.5. Arkansas, you look at them from last week, they were really good on the offensive side of the football, very explosive, but they took on a really lesser competition. This will be their first real test. They're playing on the road here at Oklahoma State. A very tough place to play, for this Arkansas team with Bobby Petrino at offensive coordinator. I think Arkansas, though, will score some points. I think this game probably has a chance to be a shootout. I really wouldn't be shocked, though, if Arkansas actually go in here to pull off the upset, but Oklahoma State, I think, is a much more better team. Oklahoma State last week took care of business against South Dakota State, which obviously I think a lot of people really was shocked about how that game came out to play. But I think Oklahoma State, with that win over South Dakota State, they have a little bit of momentum, and they run the football in this game with Ollie Gordon as much as they can. And their defense makes a big-time stop at the end of the day. So with that being said, Oklahoma State, I'm going to go with them in this one. 34-31. Again, a 3-point win here for Oklahoma State. It's a close game, a shootout, but I like the Cowboys in this one. Next up, we got California versus Auburn, 3:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. Auburn favored by 13 in this one, and the over and under is at 53.5. This game actually was really close last year. Obviously only a 7-point win by the Auburn Tigers, 14-7 on the road at California from last year. These two teams are definitely, different compared to last season. California is a pretty average type team based off of what I saw from last week. And then you look at Auburn, a very explosive offensive performance against Alabama A&M. I don't think Auburn scores more than 50 points this time in this one, but I think they'll definitely dominate because they're playing at home, and also they're a double-digit favorite against a Cal team that really doesn't have like a really good defense. So I think Auburn beats Cal here, 38-17. Again, I think Cal does score some points in this one, but I don't think it will be enough to make it a close game like it was from last year. And I think Auburn playing at home gets it done. 38-17 is my final score prediction here for this game. Next up, we got an SEC matchup, South Carolina versus Kentucky, also at 3:30 Eastern Time here on ABC. Kentucky favored by 10 in this one, and the over and under is at 42.5. Kentucky obviously had that lightning, delay and everything, and also their game got canceled the rest of the way, but they won 31-0 over Southern Miss. And the Kentucky offense actually looked really, really good. The defense overall looked really good as well, even though we didn't really see the whole thing of how Kentucky played and everything. But this time, hopefully we can see them play a really good game this weekend. They're taking on a South Carolina team that's actually been really close with Kentucky for the last few years. I feel like Kentucky, though, has dominated the series as of late. South Carolina and Kentucky have really had some really good matchups in the past, and it still is a pretty good matchup to this day. South Carolina struggled against Old Dominion from last weekend. I feel like South Carolina probably overlooked Old Dominion, and they were probably focused on this Kentucky team from next weekend, but I like Kentucky a lot better in this one. I think it's a close game. I'm actually going to go with, Kentucky to win this one. Again, I think Kentucky is the better team, and they win this one because they're playing at home, and I think home field advantage might be the difference. And plus, the winner of this game probably goes on to have like a really good year the rest of the way and gets to a bowl game, but I think, if the loser of this game, they probably go on to have like a pretty average type season, and maybe they don't make it to a bowl game. I'm going to go with Kentucky here, 24-17. I don't think Kentucky gets to that 10-point spread, but they win this one by 7 points nonetheless. So again, I got Kentucky winning this one against South Carolina, 24-17. Next up, we got Baylor versus Utah, 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox. Utah favored by 14 in this one, and the over and under is at 54.5. So again, this is a non-conference game. These are two Big 12 teams, but this is a non-conference game. It was scheduled, of course, from the year before Utah officially became a member of the Big 12 and everything. So this is not counted as a Big 12 game. Baylor obviously looked pretty good last week, but you look at Utah, I think they have a big advantage in this one. And like I said with my upset alert video from yesterday, I think this is a bad matchup here for Baylor. You look at Utah, they're playing at home in this one. They're a top 15 team, close to being a top 10 team as well. I mean, Cam Rising back at quarterback obviously did not play in this game at all from last year, so I think Baylor, this is definitely a really bad matchup for them. So with that being said, I think Utah definitely dominates this one, and they probably win by more than 14 points. They win this one 35-14. I think Baylor does score in this one, but it's not even until like maybe the second half of this one. Again, I think with Cam Rising back at quarterback, Utah is a much more explosive offensive team compared to last year, and I think the defense will do their job as well. So I got Utah beating Baylor here 35-14, again in this non-conference Big 12 matchup, and it will be at 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox. Next up, we got Iowa State versus Iowa. This game will be at 3:30 Eastern Time on CBS. The Hawkeyes favored by 2.5, and the over and under is at 35.5. We don't really expect a lot of points to be scored in this game when it comes to this matchup between the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes. You look at Iowa, though, from last week, they scored 40 points in their opener against Illinois State. Can they get that offense going here in this game against Iowa State? I really don't know. I think this game is going to really come down to the wire. It will be a low-scoring game like it always is between these two teams. I think Iowa State is a pretty good team. Obviously a lot of experience on that roster this year. But, Iowa is playing at home in this one. I think home field advantage might be the difference, and I think a big special teams play might be the difference as well. Maybe a turnover. You never know what can happen in these low-scoring type games. And again, that over and under is at 35.5, so I think it's a low-scoring game. 17-14 is what I'm going to go with here. I got the Hawkeyes beating Iowa State here just because they're playing at home, but I really wouldn't be shocked if Iowa State actually went on the road and beat Iowa. I mean, they obviously did that a couple years ago, and then last year, of course, Iowa went on the road and beat Iowa State. So it seems like when, you're the underdog in this type of rivalry, it seems like the underdog always wins this game, and whoever has got the home field advantage, it seems like the away team always wins this matchup. I'm going to go with Iowa here to get the win, 17-14. I think they're a little bit of a better team as well. Next up, we got Kansas versus Illinois, 7 o'clock Eastern time on Fox Sports 1. The Jayhawks favored by 5 in this one, and the over and under is at 55.5. This is also a rematch from the regular season from last year in week number 2. The Jayhawks won by 6 points last year, 30-24. So this is like a revenge game here for Illinois. I actually wouldn't be really shocked if Illinois actually pulled off an upset here, but I think the Jayhawks are definitely the better team, and they also have a lot more experience than Illinois does. They're also a more well-coached team and definitely a more consistent team as well. But I don't think, the Jayhawks will score more points like they did from last week. I think Illinois keeps this one close, but I'm going to actually go with Kansas here by 7 points. 28-21. I think they go over that 5-point spread, and they win this one by 7 points this time. So again, I got Kansas beating Illinois here 28-21. Again, this game will be on Saturday at 7 o'clock Eastern time on Fox Sports 1. And then next up, we got Tennessee versus NC State, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. Of course, this will be a neutral site game at Charlotte. This is a top 25 matchup as well. Tennessee favored by 8 in this one, and the over and under is at 60.5. Tennessee, really dominating performance against a really bad Chattanooga team. Nico Amaliava looked really good at, quarterback, was really consistent as well, had over 300 passing yards. Can he keep that momentum going into this game against a really, average type NC State team? I say average because NC State obviously kind of struggled against Western Carolina from last week. But, Tennessee, I think obviously this will be their kind of first real test with a new quarterback and everything. For NC State, this will be a very tough offense to stop. Obviously, defensively, Tennessee might have some concerns in the secondary, but I think Tennessee's strength will be definitely their defensive line. NC State's going to try to run the football in this game as much as they can to wear down that Tennessee defense, but when it comes to shootouts, I do trust Tennessee a little bit more. I also trust Josh Heupel and this Tennessee coaching staff to make a big-time stop at the end of the day. So with that being said, Tennessee wins this one 38-31. Again, it's a shootout here. Both of these teams go into the 30s. But I'm going to go with Tennessee here. Again, I trust them a little bit more in shootouts. So I got Tennessee beating NC State here 38-31. And then finally, we got Colorado versus Nebraska, 7:30 Eastern time on NBC. Nebraska favored by 7.5, and the over and under is at 58.5. Big matchup here between two teams out of different conferences, out of the Big 12 for Colorado, and then out of the Big 10 here for Nebraska. Colorado did not look so good against North Dakota State this past Thursday night. Was Colorado looking ahead to Nebraska, or they were just not really focused on North Dakota State? Or is North Dakota State just that really good? Well, I think North Dakota State's pretty good. I think they gave Colorado a bit of a scare, but Colorado's defense, made some adjustments in the second half, and then they ended up playing pretty well, got some stops on third down. The offense didn't really do too much, but Travis Hunter was big in this game from this past Thursday night. I think Travis Hunter is going to have to be the big difference here for this Colorado team. But, playing on the road, that's a very tough place to play at Nebraska. Nebraska actually looked pretty good in their first game as well. Again, Nebraska, can they win this game? Obviously we've seen them lose some close games against, really good teams over the last few years now. Can Matt Rowe get it done this season? They obviously have, a really good quarterback this season who obviously will be the future and everything. But Nebraska, I've been picking them ever since the preseason, and also this is a revenge game here for the Cornhuskers from last year. So with that being said, it's a close game. Colorado hangs in there, but I think Nebraska comes up with a big-time stop, and maybe a turnover probably changes the difference. And I think this is a shootout, 34-27. I'm going to go with the final score here. I'm going to go with Nebraska, though, to win it 34-27. Again, it will be a competitive game. It will be a close game as well. But I'm going to actually go with Nebraska here to beat Colorado 34-27. So that is my college football predictions and picks heading into week number 2 of the 2024 season. And let me guys know what you think. Who are your picks for this upcoming weekend? And also give me your 10 games down in the comments below, and give me your final score predictions for all these games down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.